From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
Welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster podcast. This is a weekly podcast about consumption. We are, of course, proud members of the Run Podcast Network. You can find all of our old episodes, all of our new episodes, and all of our upcoming episodes, as well as all the other great shows on the Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. Whippy this week is the host of the Dewey Pod Monster podcast. He was making a movie called Stab, and he was stabbed. His name's Sean. Sean, how are you doing today?
John, in the third one, all bets are off.
Yeah, that's something that happens.
It's April.
But before we get to the third one, it is April and the 3. Thank God. I'm curious if anyone knows what we're referring to when we say April and the 3. Please let us know in the comments of this episode, wherever you want, whether it's on social media or on the episode itself. If you know what we're referring to when we say April and the 3, let us know. Now, without any further ado, Sean, what have you been watching this week? Or listening to, maybe?
We're kicking this one off with a bang or something. So how long has it been, John? Since
my boots are off. My feet are in the air. They haven't died
They're
yet.
black.
I'm doing good. Yes.
John, how long has it been? And maybe it's never been. How long has it been since you've seen the movie Singles? The Cameron Crowe movie Singles.
I don't think I have. It's not ringing a bell. No.
1992 Singles with Matt Dillon, Bridget Fonda, that guy. I want to say Dermot Mulrooney, but it's Campbell Scott because I get those two mixed up.
I don't think I've seen this.
Kira Sedgwick. So I watched that.
It looks like a typical 90s Brad Pack style movie just from the cover, but I haven't seen it. I don't think.
Well, it's not really Brad Pack, but it was kind of the movie that
style
really exploited grunge music for the masses.
Oh.
So it's like the big soundtrack that
it's got Eddie Vedder in it.
Yeah, Eddie Vedder's in it, Stone Gossard's in it, Chris Cornell's in it. They have performances like here and there by Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, a few other bands. It's basically a movie about Seattle in the 90s and this group of singles that are their stories. And the way the story's told is like they have these little interstitial titles and I kind of read it as being each one of these interstitials were these singles, so to speak, on a record. So Paul Westerberg does the soundtrack. It's got, like I said, the actual, or he does the score. Music by Paul Westerberg is how it's described. But yeah, I mean, basically it's like a 90s time capsule of grunge music in Seattle. And it's a romantic kind of comedy drama thing. And these different singles and how their love lives progress, basically. And them trying to find love in the 90s. So I hadn't seen it. I'd seen it a while ago. I had the soundtrack. Like I said, it was one of the probably gateway drugs for a lot of people my age. Obviously not you, but into grunge music or into the wider Seattle sound, if you want to call that grunge or not. I'm not really sure. No Nirvana. As far as I know, I don't think there's any Nirvana on it. But anyways.
Well, 1992, wouldn't that be a little bit before Nirvana really wasn't Nevermind like 93 or something like that?
I don't think so. 91.
Yeah, okay, so
I win. I'm gonna win. I win. Yeah, so it was really, I think it was a summer 92 release, I believe. I don't know. I'm just talking about the movie. It'll be linked in the show notes. You can make your own conclusion. You can tell me I'm wrong. Do it in the comments. Side promotion. Anyways, I got a chance to watch that. My kid, the same one that asked me about Mallrats and if this was actually released in theaters, she was like, what is this? She was kind of just passingly paying attention. She was on the couch and
Dad, tell me about this grunge.
She wasn't. She could not care less about anything that was going on in this movie. She was just kind of like, what? I don't even understand what's going on in this movie. Like, okay, well, let me tell you about Seattle. And so, yeah, anyways, I got a chance to watch that. It had been a while. It's okay. It's serviceable. I remember it kind of getting, maybe my memory is skewed, but I feel like it got really not great reviews. I feel like they were kind of middling. Not great, not horrible, but just kind of middling. But anyways, that's a movie. I watched that. I also watched a documentary, a behind-the-scenes documentary about the World Porridge Making Championships. The movie is called The Golden Spurtle, and it takes place... Yes?
I'm assuming a Spurtle is some sort of spoon, but I honestly have no idea. But yeah. thrilled that they use the word Spurtle instead of something that people know what it is.
They'll make movies about it.
I'm sure someone knows. I'm sure someone knows what a Spurtle is, but I'm Googling it. So
yeah, it's like basically a spoon handle without the spoon part.
Yeah.
You use it to stir your porridge. Like, I mean, come on,
Okay.
man. So anyways, this competition takes place in Scotland. You can only use 3 ingredients. It's got to be water, salt, and oats. That's it. And whatever portion of whatever those things that you use is how you get to make the world's, I don't know if it's the world's best, but you get to win the World Porridge Making Championship. It follows, it's like I said, it's like this behind the scenes documentary. It follows the porridge chieftain, aka Charlie Miller, and it's his last year
it's a pretty
as
cool
the
title.
yeah, as the overseer of the competition. It's been running since 1994, and they do the thing where they talk to different contestants, people who had won before. They follow people trying to win it. It's so this Charlie Miller character isn't the judge. They have an independent group of judges. Some of them have been contestants. Some of them are just like residents of the town. It's basically a way to, get tourism to the town and whatnot. It's an interesting kind of heartwarming documentary. To be perfectly honest, I watched it at the end of a long opening day session, opening day of baseball, a home opener session of drinking. So it's a little fuzzy, but I remember it being good and I enjoyed it. The last thing I'll talk about is, yes, John, you're looking at me.
I love how
like a
you
dog that's
go
been told
from
a joke.
I love how you go from day drinking baseball all day to porridge championship doc.
I'm a man of culture, a man of mystery. I just, the heart wants what the heart wants, John. Oh,
I'm not judging.
Real bit quick back to singles. There is a very brief cameo, not a cameo, but a very brief part by one of our favorite actors, probably one of the best actors of the 20th century, Jeremy Piven. He is on screen for about 60 seconds, and the 60 seconds that he's on screen is enough to last you a lifetime. You don't have to see him in anything else ever.
Do they throw him off a roof?
No, unfortunately, they do not.
Wow.
The last thing that I'll talk about is I watched another documentary called Lilith Fair, Building a Mystery. As you can probably guess, it's a retrospective on Lilith Fair, how it got started, like what was the impetus of it. They interview, the organizer, who was Sarah McLachlan. It was her tour, her festival. They go into like how it started. They talk to her management, her keepers and everything of how they started putting this homegrown festival together. And they interview people like Sheryl Crow, Liz Phair, Indigo Girls, Jewel, people that were performers. Erykah Badu's in it a little bit. They interview her. It was an interesting documentary. I never went to Lilith Fair. I was actually a really big fan of Sarah McLachlan, believe it or not, at the time. I haven't listened to her stuff. It made me actually listen to her music more recently. Yeah, it was just an interesting documentary if you're kind of curious. It's very anti-Woodstock, Woodstock 99 and the whole aggro.
That's fair.
90s.
That's probably for the better.
Yeah, late 90s rock scene. And they talk about it. They talk about how it, how it basically was like up against Woodstock. I think it started in 97 and went through 99. And they tried to revive it in 2010, but it just didn't get a lot of attention. Not a lot of people were interested in seeing the same kind of thing. And I think that female singer-songwriter thing that we really saw a lot in the late 90s kind of fell out of fashion by 2010. It was more of the manufactured pop stars who really don't write their own music, and they're the Jessica Simpsons, the Britney Spears, the people like that. But I didn't know they had like a whole village, like a whole tent system that they would set up when they would go to different towns so you could get information on local vendors, or they had like little side stages where a really up and coming performer could perform, and then they would sell their CDs at the tents, and you could even get it signed by some of the artists. So they said one person that was really kind of an unknown but had just started their career was Christina Aguilera. She was performing on this real small side stage, and everybody, when she started singing, everybody took notice, and it gathered a pretty large crowd. They go into some of the controversies that they had with organizing a festival like this, and some of the tents that they had, like Planned Parenthood, and there were like protests of people who were clearly anti-Planned Parenthood. They had like bomb threats and all that type of stuff, and they go into the logistics of some of it. It was interesting. Like I think that's on Hulu. It was an ABC News, CBC collaboration. I believe it's on Hulu. Again, everything that I've talked about, if I can link it in the show notes, it'll be linked in the show notes. John, that's what I got a chance to watch. How's About You?
Before that, I like
No.
documentaries like that when they go back and show like a mega star when they were just getting, because I watched that Lollapalooza one. I think it was just called Lala, the one that Perry Farrell basically hosted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my favorite part of that is in one of the later episodes, like one of the tail end parts where they show Lady Gaga at her first Lollapalooza, and she's just at like a card table, just like in a bra and panties, just like flipping shit around and like going nuts. And then they cut to her like 3 years later where she's headlining and like took over the entire city and stuff. I'm like, that's kind of cool to see an artist, like, say what you want about a performer like Lady Gaga or Christina Aguilera or whatever the case is. There's still something to being able to do a performance like that, even if you're not into that kind of music or if you think it's too produced or whatever the case may be. I can respect someone who's willing to go through it, even to get to that level. It's still a performance that there's merit to that. So seeing a documentary that takes the time to show cool stuff like that, I think is always worth checking out. So I don't know if I'll get to it for next week, but I will be adding that to my to watch list now. So that's good. For me, I'm going to start with an album because, when Codefendants drop an album, I'm going to talk about it because I'm totally obsessed with this band. So Codefendants as of this recording, so 3 days ago, they just released their second full-length album, which is called Lifers. It's got a total of 11 tracks, 5 of which we've heard in one way or another through singles, or the way they release albums now. It's not just Codefendants. It seems to be this is how industry does it now, which I kind of don't like, is you get a handful of singles before the album's out, like leading up to it, I guess, to build up hype for it. And that's cool because we're getting little bits of music here and there. And like, I guess a lot of people don't even care about albums anymore. All they want is singles. I guess that's just the way things are now. But it does make it feel like when you finally get the new album, like there's 11 tracks on this album and 5 of them had been released before this. So I'm like, I kind of feel like I only got half an album. That said, this album is fucking amazing. I know I mentioned it to you a couple days ago. Did you get a chance to listen to it at all?
Twice.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
that's to it twice.
That's 2 more times than 0. So
yeah, it's good math.
I think this movie is very true to what they did in the first album. I feel like this album is a little bit more politically charged than the first album is, which makes sense when you think about what's going on in the world right now, but it still holds kind of to that outsider point of view with like just the most obscure and like, I don't know if it's random because there's the way this album flows from track to track, like it plays really well as like if it were to be just one long track, but it's still genre bends and genre hops within songs from song to song and whatnot. I think it's really interesting that they got Fat Mike, lead singer of NoFX, to rap a verse kind of over a cello, which I was like, I just heard a guy who's been in one of the most prolific punk bands for 40 plus years rap over a cello, which I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around. But the songs that are new on this, especially Rivals, another one with DOC that they brought back, and Lonely Life, those 2 are just killer tracks. And this thing rips from start to finish. What did you think?
Yeah, I really liked it. So I don't keep up on singles. Unless it's a band that I am totally like, you kind of in your shoes, like I'm totally obsessed and I'm listening to everything they release when they release it. I hadn't heard, I think I'd heard one of the singles before.
You've been in the car with me, so you probably have. So.
And I probably just didn't realize it was something new, but yeah, I really liked it. It's, that band is one of the few these days that I can listen to their album and just get like goosebumps listening to it. Like, wow, this is really doing something different. It's not, like you said, it's genre bending. They skip between genres. They have one song I listened to, I don't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head, but it sounded a lot like, is it Prison Camp that's on the last, or Suicide by Police?
Yeah, I think you're thinking of The Weatherman. It's kind of got like that very that Cubano,
guitar, flamenco almost style guitar.
Mm-hmm.
That one was like, oh, this kind of sounds familiar, but then it busts out and totally does something different. So yeah, like I said, it's one of those bands that of the very few these days where I listen to it and you get like a charge out of hearing it. So I really liked it. I listened to it twice, and the 2 times I listened to it was like back to back. Like I just I actually went into my phone and started it over so I could listen to it again. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
It's basically been all that I've been playing since Friday when it came out. When you stalked up to my car the other night, that was on, shockingly. So, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. They're such a great band. They really do have this originality to them. I wouldn't be surprised if there's someone out there taking pieces of what they've done and trying to get something of that sound. But in 2026, it's really hard to feel legitimately original from like start to finish. And these guys have managed to do it and do it consistently, you know. And what's weird is even though they have, again, I think they got like 2 hip hop songs on this, they don't have anything that I would call like a straight punk song, even though that's how they're calling themselves as a punk band. So I'm rolling with it. It's interesting to have a band that changes so much from song to song, but it still sounds like them, like their style, their thing, you know, however you want to word that. So I love it. I think it's great. And if you like music at all, whatever genre, as long as you don't mind some dark subject matter within the lyrics, I think you should give it a try because it is that different. And even if it's just going into it and be like, well, I haven't heard that before, that's worth checking out. And I did watch some stuff too. I did finally gave Bad Boys Ride or Die a second try because I'm dumb. And so Bad Boys Ride or Die is the 4th of the Bad Boys movies in the Bad Boys franchise. This one is a Jerry Bruckheimer production. There's no Michael Bay in this one, but holy shit, does it try to look like Michael Bay. This whole movie is like, it really looks like they tried to make a movie that they're like, how do we make this look like a FPS game? Because it goes just everywhere that's set up. Like, there's even points where they do the full, like, what was it? Hardcore Henry like camera shot where it's just like doing that straight at, like, there's a whole scene of that. There's a lot of scenes with it. It's like, oh, we're going into the club. Everything is lit up. Like all the countertops have these like neon accents to them. So you know exactly where they're going to jump over. When they blow up like a Kool-Aid jar, it all like neonly flies all over the place and gets on our heroes and whatnot. For some reason, Marcus thinks he's immortal in this movie, so he does a lot of stupid things like walking into traffic and whatnot. For a Bad Boys movie, I found it more obnoxious than anything. Like, they're not even cashing. There's a couple things that are pretty good in it. Like DJ Khaled pops up in it and gets, spoilers, gets murdered pretty quickly, but his death is pretty funny because he overacts the shit out of it. And it's just really out of place for the kind of movie, because I don't know what this movie cost, but I got to think it's at least $100 million, if not more than that, movie to make. So to get this guy doing like a $15 death scene that looks like it, with it, not from a quality standpoint, but from an acting standpoint, looks like something out of a Trauma video. That part was great. And do you remember in the second movie, the kid that they like opened the door and like threatened the shit out of? No,
I don't. I've never seen a Bad Boys movie.
You haven't seen any of them?
No, I do not care for Will Smith.
Okay. Normally I agree with you. The first 2 are actually pretty good, but
I will not change my mind.
Anyway, well, we might have to revisit that. But
no, we will not.
That adamant. Okay. There's some characters in it from the earlier movies that they do kind of pay off, but for the most part, it just feels like a cash grab of a movie. Can't really recommend it that much. I do remember starting it once, getting about 15 minutes into it and be like, I just can't fucking do this right now. So take that for whatever it's worth. You're right over there.
No, I think that's funny. I cannot do this right now. Click.
Well, yeah. What I was willing to do right now, I sat through 4 seasons of this show over the course of about a week, because apparently once you start, you just can't stop. I got into the show WWE Rivals, which is a TV series that was on A&E. It started in 2002, and I think there's actually 5 seasons, but they only have 4 that are on Tubi right now. Basically, it's just going through a timeline of WWE. It's not chronological at all, but it's taking all the big matchups that you can think. So think Macho Man versus Hogan, or, you know, The Rock versus Stone Cold, or et cetera, et cetera. And it does a really good job of just going through the genesis of that rivalry, the lead up to it, and the matchup, in all about an hour long episode. For the most part, because like The Undertaker pops up a ton, like he's had a ton of like legendary matches and all this stuff. So when they do a character like The Undertaker, thankfully, after the first time they feature The Undertaker, they don't really waste your time being like, this is The Undertaker, he came from here, and this is how he came. But if it's a guy who's like the first time they're talking about him, whichever guy that might be, they do give you a little crash course of like, oh, Bret the Hitman Hart came from Canada and he likes pink tights, or, you know, whatever. It does kind of ask you to pay attention to the episodes before it, in the sense that they're not rehashing stuff necessarily, which is good, because a lot of those stories all intertwine and whatnot. But they do a pretty good job of just going through and just covering them from start to finish. Assuming that people are not dead, they do a good job of getting, I think, all of the wrestlers that were involved in said matches. Obviously, for like Andre the Giant or something, that would be a little difficult, but, you know, that happens in wrestling. And at least in the 4 seasons that I watched with it, and yeah, there is 5 seasons, I'm looking at it on IMDb, I can't think of any big matches that they didn't hit that like I would have been interested to see them really cover. That said, I didn't think I'd really care about watching the episode of Hulk and Rowdy Roddy Piper, and that turned into one of the most interesting ones, and that's like near the end of the series. So, you know, if you enjoy us talking about Wrestler Corner, which seems to be a recurring subject on this show, there's worse ways you can spend a whole week just sitting on your ass watching TV, for sure. I think we talked about this a little bit off, Mike. Was this one that you had actually been familiar with, or is this one that you're just going to probably go binge now that I'm talking about it?
No, I think I'll probably binge it. I don't remember seeing it when it came out. I don't know why or why not, but yeah, I'll probably end up watching. We need to bring back a little bit more Wrestler Corner now that you bring it up, because it's been a while. It seems to happen around an event, or like Dark Side of the Ring, or when the A&E biography style show comes back, which I don't know if they're going to redo that, because I feel like maybe they've exhausted the people that are still like worth talking about in their stable right now.
Yeah, I don't know if they have either. I was going to like reference that show though, in the sense that if you like that show, I think you would like this show, because it's the same attention to detail, the same level of quality, and honestly, a lot of the same people that are talking about it, going back and forth in these stories. So you can almost tell when they shot the biography. Like, I don't know when the biography show started. This says it started 2022. So, you know, who knows which one came first, but it almost looks like they shot them both at the same time. Cause you can, when they go to like Stone Cold, for example, like he's in the, I think that might've been in his house. So maybe that's this is a stupid statement, but it looks like the same day that they were there talking to Stone Cold for the other show, and they just decided to do them. They probably just kept them there for a day and did them all at once or something. But it's well done. Like I said, you especially, I know you'll have matches or like episodes you're like, I don't know if I care about this particular episode. I certainly had like matches like I didn't give a shit about Seth Rollins when that episode came up.
Yeah,
I still watched it, but because I was like, wow, I'm this far in. I've been watching this for 48 hours straight. I might as well finish it, you know, whatever the case may be. But so there are certainly some episodes that are less interesting than others, just because I don't care about those wrestlers, but they still handle those just as well as the ones that you care about. So it's a well done show. Definitely would check that out. And that's all I have. So I think it's time for us to stop talking about wrestling and music and switch gears and talk about April and the 3. So we're going to take a break and come back and talk Scream 3 on April and the 3. Hi everyone, AI John here. If you're a horror fan like me, check out the Fans of the Dead podcast. Mike and Jeremy dedicate every episode to a horror film, from the popular to the unknown. You can get their takes on some of the movies we've talked about, including Terrifier, The Burning, and Ghostbusters. Head over to yourunpodcast.com to check them out and all the other members of the You Run Podcast Network.
Maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't, but we've got a Patreon now.
Another Patreon? Really?
Well, yeah, but this one is different.
How could this possibly be different?
Well, first off, you get episodes early, and we have Discord.
Everybody has a Discord thing. I thought you said this was different.
Well, it's not just that we've got a Discord, but we've got different stuff on the Discord.
Okay, I'm listening. What else?
Look, this read is already getting to be too long, and I'm running out of AI credits. So if you want to know all the perks of joining our Patreon, Check it out at patreon.com/DeweyPodMonster for all the details. Go check it out.
All right, so we're back, and it's April and the 3, and we are talking Scream 3. We're going to start with the third-party review, and this one comes from Angela. Angela says, the only valid jump scare in this movie is when Courteney Cox bangs appeared on the screen. 3.5 out of 5 stars. So, actually a pretty positive review, seeing as that's the only valid scare in this, I guess. Sean, I'm going to turn it over to you. Would you want to tell us what Scream 3 is all about?
I mean, I'll tell you what IMDb.com says about it. So for that, we look up the word Scream 3, and it brings us to a movie from the 2000 year. It has an R rating. It's an hour and 56 minutes long, which is kind of on the long side for one of these types of movies, but it gets a 5.7 out of 10.
That's going to come up again.
With 185,000 ratings, and it's on the popularity scale. So this is April and 3 has proved to be a boon to the IMDb popularity scale. This is 1308 out of some number, which is down 137 from some other number. And we go to this little line or two on the top of the page. We're never quite sure if it's a storyline or the plot, but they really wouldn't put it on top if you weren't supposed to read it first. At least that's what Grandpa Jedediah always told me. So it says, in Hollywood, a new Ghostface starts killing the cast of Stab 3, a movie sequel whose previous movies were based on the Woodsboro and Windsor College killings, forcing the survivors of those previous attacks to confront terror once again. And if we scroll on down to this other thing that we read, it is the storyline. That means the other thing must be the plot. The storyline says, and this is care of Mike. Mike wrote in and said, a new film is currently in production and a killer is on the loose. The murders draw a reporter, ex-cop, and young woman to the set of the movie inspired by their life. They soon find out they are dealing with a trilogy, and in a trilogy, anything can happen. Period.
Yeah, that's one way. So, I mean, I don't have big cliff notes for this one. Basically, this movie is, they're making another Scream movie.
Scream goes to Hollywood.
Yeah, more or less. Before we get into it too much, there's a shit ton of people in this movie. I'm assuming there's two people that are not part of the main cast that you're going to elevate above all else, because why wouldn't you? But who's in this movie that we care about?
All right, so yeah, it's a little bit of a complicated thing. There's a lot of people in this movie, or a lot of people that you'll recognize. So I'm just going to stick with the people not only that are like Scream regulars, but also the few quote unquote main characters I think that we see the most here that you might recognize. So we start out with Neve Campbell, who plays Sydney Prescott. She is known for the Scream series, of course, The Craft, Party of Five, the TV show, and Wild Things. We have David Arquette, who plays Dewey. Every time I see the name, I want to say Dewey Cox, but it's just Dewey. And he's, again, known from the Scream series, eight-legged freaks. And of course, Ready to Rumble. How could I fail to mention that?
Freaks.
Yeah. We have Courteney Cox, who plays Gail Weathers. She's known from the Scream series, Friends, Cougar Town, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. I kind of forgot she was in that until I looked it up. We have Parker Posey, who plays Jennifer Jolie. She was in Dazed and Confused, The Doom Generation, The White Lotus, and Superman Returns, amongst many, many other things. We have Patrick Dempsey, who plays Detective Mark Kincaid. He's probably best known from Grey's Anatomy, Can't Buy Me Love, Loverboy, Run, Thanksgiving. We have Lance Henriksen, a favorite of this show. He plays John Milton. We talked about him in Pumpkinhead, Near Dark, The Terminator, Aliens, Hard Target, and he's been in a ton of other shit. Those are the main people I'm going to mention. What's that?
We like Lance Henriksen.
We do, even though he beats up all the dirt biking dickheads. We also have appearances by Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes, Heather Matarazzo. I always want to say Matarazzo. We have Liev Schreiber, Jenny McCarthy, Patrick Warburton. I will mention, I have never mentioned, I've talked about Born to Bowl, the HBO series about the bowling documentary. The best part about that show, well, one of the best parts about that show is Jesus Christ, now I can't say his name. Liev Schreiber is the narrator, so it has that that Hard Knocks feel to it.
Right.
But that has nothing to do with Scream 3, but I just wanted to bring that up.
You're going to skip the best cameo in this movie?
I guess it depends on what the best, Jamie Kennedy?
Roger Corman.
Oh, yeah, but he doesn't, does he even say it? Oh, he does have a line.
Yeah. He's got the line about violence in movies and whatnot. He's right at the beginning. He's talking with Lance and Roman. I'm going to call him Lance this entire movie instead of whatever his real fucking...
Well, his real name is Lance.
Or whatever his name is in the movie. Sorry. Did you mention that Putty's in this movie too?
Yes, Patrick Warburton,
Okay.
aka the Tick,
Yes.
aka Putty from
Yes.
Seinfeld.
So this is one of, if not the most divisive movie in this franchise, to be honest, for pretty good reason. This is probably one of the ones I revisit least, even though I'm admittedly a fan of this franchise. So we're going to open the doors and just kind of start talking, try to lean positive to begin with. And if it goes sideways, so be it. I do think, before I get into too much on the positives, I do think this movie is better if you can kind of check what you think at the door a Scream movie is and just say, okay, it's going to be one of these kinds of fucking movies, and just let it do what it's going to do. Because movies, I've said this before, we've said this before, movies kind of require you to suspend belief on things for a little bit. This movie really asks you to think that stupid is just perfectly fucking fine. And if you're okay with it, or if you let it take you there, you can have fun with this movie. If you choose to nitpick it to death, you're going to be annoyed with it probably within about 15 minutes or so. Either one's fine. I'm not sure where this conversation is going to go about it, because honestly, I have no idea what you're going to say about it. I know you hadn't seen this before, so.
I like that disclaimer.
For me, I'm going to start with one of my favorite things in this. I really like Parker Posey in this movie. The whole, so Parker Posey in this movie is the Stab 3 movie version of Gale. And if we didn't say this clearly already with the IMDb plot, basically the plot of this movie is, in the movie world, they're making Stab 3, which is the third of the Stab series based off the events of the first movie. People in the movie start getting killed. Turns out that it's Ghostface again. And then Neve Campbell, who oddly is taking phone calls for a living, eventually gets brought back into the movie. That's very briefly what it is. So most of your main characters have a movie counterpart, and there's a couple people in the movie like Jenny McCarthy, who you're like, I don't know who the hell you're supposed to be from the first movie, but here we are. The way the movie's set up too, because they basically reset all the scenes or all the locations from the first movie. I don't know if they're trying to go for like a reboot or just a sequel within the movie world. It's kind of confusing like that. But like I said, maybe 2 minutes ago, you're better off just not asking those questions, because the more you ask those questions, the more annoyed you're going to get. But Parker Posey, so this movie, she starts as just kind of this, I don't know if bubbly is the right word, but almost like floozy-ish, like Hollywood actress. They make a lot of like lines or jabs up at her, or she makes them saying like, well, I shouldn't have blown that director, or I shouldn't have slept with that, those types of things like that, which kind of says something about her character. But when they get, basically this movie goes Scooby-Doo pretty quick and turns into a lot of sleuthing and detecting around with it. Much like Larry David and John Hamm, when John Hamm was pretending to be Larry David on Curb Your Enthusiasm, Parker Posey acting across Courteney Cox as we're getting this Gale on Gale interaction. I don't know why, it just makes me laugh, especially when they really overact it comedically. Like, they're not trying to be funny. They're trying to act like they're scared. I laugh every time they start screaming and getting chased and getting thrown around and whatnot. It's just ridiculous. But once you get past all the other things in this movie, if you just let this movie do its thing, I found the humor in that to be pretty good.
Yeah, I think Parker Posey is like, I'll get into more of it, but I feel like she's really a shining performance in this movie, because I mean, she's been in a lot of stuff. She was a real indie darling for a long time. This is one of her probably bigger roles at the time, and she just does a great job. She brings like this ditzy kind of airhead personality to the role, and it's just like you said, when her and Courteney Cox as Gale and whatever Parker Posey's character's name is,
Jennifer or whatever.
Yeah, Jennifer Jolie. When they start really interacting, and like you said, the part where they're getting scared together and they're running, it is actually really funny to see them interact with each other, because at the beginning they can't stand each other because,
they're catty.
Yeah, and basically Gale is upset that Jennifer is playing her in the movie and she's playing her a specific way or whatever. Mm-hmm. And when they start to really click, it actually adds to some of the humor of the movie comes full circle at that moment. I mean, for me, One of the things that I really like about this movie, and you mentioned it, this is the first time I'd seen it, so I haven't seen this before. Surprise, surprise. I like about Scream, at least up to this point, because again, I really like, I think one's the only one that I've ever seen, like before we started talking about it on the show. I really like that they changed the setting for each movie. I like that this time they take it to Hollywood. They do it during this production of this film. And I like, the other thing that I like about this series, at least again, up until 3, I don't know what happens after this. I like that the series follows an ongoing storyline. You know, so many movies that are these like high level or, you know, really popular horror series at the time, they don't, like Friday the 13th, it does progress chronologically, but it kind of doesn't at the same time. You know, it's kind of like, you can
certainly walk into Friday the 13th part 6 without seeing 1 through 5 and be just fine.
And I think the overarching thing, or Halloween, I mean, Halloween's a great example, right? It's all over the place. I think the thing with Scream is that Kevin Williamson has so much interaction with what's going on. Obviously, he writes the thing. Wes Craven is still involved.
He didn't write this one.
Williamson didn't write this one?
He didn't write, not 3, no.
Okay. Well, Wes Craven's still involved.
He wrote a treatment for it at the time that he did 2. So when he did 2, he wrote a treatment for 2 and 3.
Okay.
That's also when things started getting leaked on the internet, and he was doing, like, I don't remember if he wrote or was just heavily involved with Halloween H2O, which came out right around the same time as this. He's doing that Teaching Mrs. Tingle movie that he directed, and he had like 3 other things. So short version is Kevin Williamson was busy and he wrote a treatment, which I don't know how much of that made it to this movie, but he's not the lead writer on this.
But he still has his hands in it. His fingerprints are on the thing. So I think that's what, for me, at least with this movie, again, up until this point, again, I have no idea, so don't spoil it for me, but because these people that have been consistently involved with it are still at least tertiarily involved with it, they're still, like, they still have some kind of involvement in it. It feels like a continuation of the series. And that's, for this time frame, for the year 2000, that's refreshing. That it's not just like, oh, it's another movie in the thing and whatever. It's the guy with the mask that comes back and he kills people. You know, that's, to me, I like that about Scream.
I like the continuity with the characters. I do think that this series gets to a point, and I think they knew it, hence why they brought in the 2 new characters, the Carpenter sisters in 5 and 6, which that's a whole different conversation, which I'm not going to go too far into that. I think these characters do hit points where they've kind of run their course, and I think the franchise is somewhat aware of that, but I also think the franchise is somewhat like gleefully ignoring that with what they're doing with 7 right now. But again, that's a complaint-filled episode for a different day. We're not talking about Scream 7. We're talking about Scream 3. One of the things I think I like about this movie, even though there's all kinds of questions around it, is I like that this movie introduces the voice modulator that like can essentially clone seemingly anyone's voice.
Yeah.
Now, I don't like that it's never really fucking explained how it's done, or like, this thing looks like one of those fart boxes where you just hit the button and it makes the fart noise.
It's a modified fart box.
Yeah, like as to how it works, or for that matter, why it works so good when they're like in the same room with Ghost. Like, he's literally holding this thing, like he's right in front of him like that, and you don't hear the killer's voice. You only hear either, you know, Roger Jackson's Ghostface voice or whoever he's making it modulate to. Like they open with Cotton using his voice, which is a really cool gimmick, like that, to, you know, flip the cards, make you think like, oh shit, who knows what this Ghostface fucker is going to do now. Granted, it opens just as many questions that are never answered in the movie, so you could pick it apart on that sense. But in a world where if you're going to suspend disbelief, I think that's a really cool angle to add to the Ghostface character that opens up a lot of possibilities to kind of fuck with the characters that we have running around this movie.
Yeah, I have that as a plus and a minus. Like, I wasn't quite sure if I was going to say that's something I like or don't, is that this, like you just said, the voice box modulator that can just do whoever's voice whenever they wanted to. I think, kind of going back to your point about, you know, the Carpenter sisters or whoever that you talk about later in the thing, I think this, again, Haven't seen anything past this. I don't know. That could be a drinking game. How many times does Sean say he hasn't seen anything past Scream 3? I feel like that goes into a thing that again, is a plus minus for me, is not the jump scares, but like the first few minutes of the movie and a character gets killed. They start the movie with this like, I don't know, interstitial or something like a non sequitur of people getting killed.
That's a hallmark of the That's a hallmark of the movie or the franchise. So,
and it's a plus minus for me in this movie, and I feel like it's also kind of a plus minus with the thing that you're talking about, is that it's like right on the precipice of getting to be predictable. Like, obviously, you know, it is a hallmark, so it's very hard to separate Scream from them doing that. But as an outside observer, somebody that's not like super into the movies, and again, just watching them again now for this time, it's like they're like towing the edge of the cliff as to being like a groaner kind of jump the shark kind of feel, at least for me. That's how I looked at it. But I still do like it in this movie that they're doing it. But because we're looking at it in hindsight, you know, there's still all these other movies, and I'm just figuring that they still do it all the time. So I don't know, it's a plus minus for me. But back to likes, like for me, I like that Randy makes the appearance. He does the Horror 101 tape, you know, hey, if you're watching this tape, I'm not here. And this is what happens in a trilogy. So they kind of get to tease you with this character that's not going to be back, but he's here for this specific reason. I thought that was kind of clever.
For me, that's kind of in my mix. And I'm going to just kind of start going into mix now because that's where most of my stuff is in like a mixed thing. As a fan of Randy, the character, I like that we got to see Randy again. We all assume that he was dead. He is dead in the second movie. So seeing him come back for this little, shot on Chidio, like, I'm dead, check me out, like moment.
Yeah.
I remember, especially at the time, like, oh, cool, Randy's back for a minute. Like, that's fun that we got to see him. It also opens to the door to an annoying trope in this franchise where Randy has all these fucking family members that keep coming out of the fucking woodworks to have Randy deliver some kind of bullshit in the movie, which, sorry, I just ruined the rest of the franchise for you with that. But, I don't know.
I'm never watching this shit.
You'll probably forget it by the time we get around to 4 or 5 or 6. But I have mixed opinions on that just because it's cool to see him again, but at the same time, it's like watching it this time, especially, it really felt like the first time, like, God, when you kill a character, please just let them stay dead. Like, that needs to happen more in this franchise. And apparently it's been a problem for longer than I thought. One of the other things that I think that's like, I'm kind of mixed on it because I kind of like it at some points and I kind of hate it at some points, is this movie has a really weird, like, parody vibe to it. It almost feels like Scream is, and this might be because of the whole premise that they're making a movie within the movie, but it almost has like a spoof feel to it at times.
Like they're embracing a scary movie or something?
Yeah. Like, or they're going back and taking subtle jabs at the characters that we've already got established in there, going back through what essentially is like Sydney's bedroom, Stu Macher's house and whatnot as these set pieces, which I like how they use them because, Ghostface is chasing around and she throws, unfortunately, into a bed, but like this unknown balcony that we don't see. She like one arm He-Man throws him off of that and whatnot. Like they do some cool things with it, but there's a lot of ways that the actors act out these scenes and the way that they just kind of shuffle from like place to place. There's a lot of like drawn out chase scenes in this and whatnot that it almost feels like it's parodying itself at times, which I don't know if that's intentional or not. Like I wouldn't put it past a Wes Craven directed Scream movie to parody his own movie as part of the whole meta commentary.
Yeah.
But it's very noticeable for me on this time around. I don't know that I noticed it as much on previous watches with it, but this time I was like, God, they really feel like they're almost hamming it up for the sake of like making it feel like a parody, which if it's intentional, cool. If it's not intentional, it's like, again, it just depends on my mood. There's times where I like that. There's times where I don't. If I'm in the mood to be more silly with my horror movie, I like that. If I want it to be a slasher movie, I find that to be a little not slashery.
I think just to go back, like I liked seeing, I'm a fan of Heather Matazzero's work. I said it right this time. But when they introduce her and it's like, this is Randy's sister. before you said anything about like showing up more and more, like I was like, it's such a throwaway thing. She's in the movie for 15 seconds and then it's like, you don't hear from her again. It's kind of like, okay, couldn't they just have found the tape in his stuff? They were going through his stuff or something and found it. It was just a kind of an odd touch that he's in there like that. I do feel that with this Hollywood setting, it does set a bit of a parody. And the parody that I kind of compared it to is like when, with all these different characters supposed to be portraying characters that are real people, so, you know, quote unquote, real people.
Right. It
has a very strong, to me, feeling of like the Seinfeld episode where they're filming the Seinfeld show and they have the George, who's Jeremy, I think it's Jeremy Piven, right? Who plays George.
Oh, yeah,
He's not really George, the Elaine. I
don't know why I was thinking of the Curve. I was thinking of the Curve episode when they filmed the Seinfeld
when they redid
episode.
It. Yeah,
yes. So
yeah, it really gave me those vibes. I don't, that particular episode of Seinfeld, I'm not a huge fan of for whatever reason. So it kind of like
Jeremy Piven.
Yeah, well, that's probably what it is. It put a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth because it was like that. And you know, we have the, like you said, Jennifer McCarthy doesn't really one-to-one with anybody. Maybe she's supposed to be like the Rose McGowan character for whatever reason, but it doesn't really make
I think she's
sense.
So while we're on the subject of Jenny McCarthy, teenage John loved him some Jenny McCarthy. I mean, younger John loved me some Jenny McCarthy and is really disappointed that she didn't have her boobs out in this movie. But I think she's just supposed to be the like generic. Yeah. She says she's like, she gets in the shower and gets like killed or something. I think she's just supposed to be the generic like body count first person out of the movie character. I don't know that she's supposed to represent any one particular person.
Yeah, probably not. But I will say the not that this isn't a big budget movie, at least as far as like slashers, horror movies go. The one thing I will pick out effects wise that really bothered me and just felt very out of place is the house explosion. That number one didn't look good. It might be a victim, like we've said over and over again.
It's a miniature that they, you probably knew this, but it's a miniature that they blew up. So.
Well, it's like the fire doesn't look good. Like it could be a victim of up-res or, you know, HD or whatever. I mean, this is 2000. It would probably have been on the verge of it being HD when it was released anyways, but it's, I don't know. It looks, something about it to me looks really like not even the miniature part, just the fire itself, the character who like explodes and he kind of looks like I don't know, like Lawnmower Man-esque. Not great to me. And the fire looks bad. That's a really stupid thing to complain about, but I just thought it was like this does not feel like it belongs in this movie. With the way that other things happen in these movies, people get killed in these movies, it just feels really out of place.
So you're right. First and foremost, you are absolutely right. That said, I've been watching this movie since 2000, so 26 years off and on. I don't watch this one every year, but I've seen it several times. The more I watch that scene, I just laugh at it now because it is so stupid. Yeah, and the whole sequence of events that lead, again, they're doing the Scooby-Doo thing again. They're running in and out. Like they might as well set a camera at the end of a hallway and just have them run back and forth from different doors.
Yeah.
Like they're all hysterical. They're all for some reason like really invested in reading these like cliff notes of a script that Ghostface is faxing them, to the point where they get out of the house, which apparently is full of gas that nobody smells.
Nobody notices,
even when
they add that odor in, John, for safety, so it doesn't have
that's true. That's true. But this, apparently, like, this guy is dumb enough to go in and pull the last, well, I guess we don't know if it's the last, but the next fax off the machine to keep reading it. Although the lights have been out for a while, he decides to go, like, now he can't read the other, like, 3 words at the end of this. So he goes and finds a lighter instead of just taking it outside by the lighted pool where everyone else is, thus avoiding explosion, and blows this thing the fuck up while not even like scuffing the other people that are like, what, 20 feet away from the house, like something like that. So
they outrun the fire and jump over the fence.
It is a bad, like objectively bad scene. And I'm sure the first time I saw it, I was probably more in your camp. Now that I know that it's coming and I know that it's dumb, like it's just kind of that scene there, like, look at that dumb shit, and you kind of move on.
I think I still felt like that this time.
Well, that's fair.
I was just like, that looks bad.
I mean, it does look bad, but you know, it's what it is. How did you feel about Putty in this movie?
I mean, I thought he was a fine character. I thought he was like, I liked him playing kind of a jerk, like the asshole dewdrop and all that stuff. I thought that was actually really pretty funny, but it felt like it wasn't much of a stretch for him to play that kind of character, because that's what you're kind of used to seeing him, how he the characters that he plays are kind of like that. So it's almost like seeing Putty in Scream rather than seeing Patrick Warburton play a character.
Well, as long as we're making Seinfeld references, because we've made several so far, I'm going to make one more that is one of my favorite parts of the movie, because it's another part I still have no idea why Dewey does this. We get to the third act, shit's going on. Basically, they're in this mansion with this one secret passage, but they have turned it into a maze and like a chase scene for some reason. Sydney is on the other side of this wall, wrestling Ghostface, and then Gale and Dewey are, and I think Parker Posey's still with him at this point too. Gale and Dewey are trying to save him, and for some fucking reason, Dewey produces like a fork or a paper clip or some shit. I have no idea what the fuck he's thinking here, and pulls a straight up Kramer and jams it right into, he goes, look out, and jams it into the light socket, electrocutes the shit out of himself, kills the power to the house. The killer, who we haven't said who the killer is yet, I don't even know if we'll reveal that or not, but the killer looks up like, the hell's the point of that? Kind of like we're all doing. Effectively, all Dewey does is knock himself out, and I still laugh at it because, one, it makes me think of Kramer doing it, and two, I'm like, what was the end goal here? Like, what was he trying to achieve with this? I don't know. What do you think of that?
I don't, on this show, I'm usually the what if, or the, well, John, that kind of guy. That's kind of the personality I play. I don't have any idea. I don't know. That just kind of happens. And maybe it is like the distraction of it all to turn the power out. But yeah, I really don't know. I don't know what that has to do with anything, or what the motivation was behind blowing the,
I like it. I'm glad it happens.
Yeah, so it's fine. I didn't have any complaint about it. I'm just kind of like, well, that seems kind of pointless. This movie, though, is like, for all the Scooby-Doo that Scream has had up until this point, this is like peak Scooby-Doo. Like you said, secret passageways, bookshelves, rotating bookshelves, whatever, just like hidden rooms,
endless chase scenes.
Yeah, chases
up and down
like
hallways.
You said, set the camera up on a tripod. Wes Craven goes and takes a dump or whatever, and they just run back and forth between the rooms, and you're like, oh, one time they're chasing Ghostface, the next time Ghostface is chasing them. It's prime Scooby-Doo.
The other thing I want to point out as a major plus to me, and this is one that like is more interesting now than it would have been when it came out. I really like that this movie has the balls to put the Carrie Fisher scene in there and make all the comments about, quite frankly, sexual assault in Hollywood. And I say that because this movie is a Harvey Weinstein production. So not only did they have the balls to put it in there in the first place, I mean, we'll never know what Wes did or didn't know about Harvey, or anyone else involved with this movie knew about Harvey Weinstein. But I'm willing to bet Harvey Weinstein knew about Harvey Weinstein, and he still let all this shit get put in this movie that's under his name. It's really weird watching that now in retrospect. And Carrie Fisher is a fucking like gem in this movie too. Like she just absolutely kills her 2 minutes on screen. She's awesome in it, but the actual content of that scene around her and kind of where it goes, and Henriksen's involved in that and kind of makes him a dirtbag too, but whatever. I still contest that adding Lance Henriksen to your movie is never a bad decision. It's, like I said, for 2000, this is well before the Me Too movement, well before Cosby, well before Weinstein. I'm more and more impressed every time I watch this movie that is such a heavy-handed plot point in an otherwise really goofy movie.
Yeah, I think like for me, the last big thing that two last things that I'll mention is like, this is prime Scooby-Doo, but prime in that, and that was a good point about the Weinstein piece. And I think this kind of, I don't know, doesn't really have anything to do with it. That doesn't have anything to do with it at all. But like, this is prime cell phone. Nobody calls 911. Yeah. Nobody calls. Well, I mean, I guess so near the end.
I have this as a negative because it's in the beginning. So I guess we can start negatives. You know who does call 911? 100% Cotton. He calls 911.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he does.
And I think it's fucking hilarious that Hollywood 911 being called by a celebrity gets put on hold.
Yeah. They're just like us, John. Stars, they're just like us.
Just like us. He's 100% caught.
The other thing for me that, I don't know, I guess it's like a compound thing, is that you said kind of earlier about Sydney's like a phone operator for this crisis line or whatever, which is just kind of weird. I mean, I understand she wants to disappear and she doesn't want to live in the spotlight anymore of these things that keep happening around her, which just happens more. But I feel like this whole supernatural element of, is it a dream? Is it not a dream? When she sees her mom, and that whole thing just felt weird because it goes along with the Randy Horror 101 trilogy thing where we start to get supernatural elements into it. But this is where I was going to go with the Weinstein piece. I remember now, is that it's very interesting that this whole like Sydney's mom lore is all surrounded about her going to Hollywood for 2 years when she was younger and getting basically like used around town. And that really put her into this tailspin that caused her to be, this promiscuous woman and got involved with all these people and had affairs all over town, which led to her being killed by, in the original movie or previous to the original movie.
Right.
I thought that was like, that's kind of an interesting touch and goes back to what you were saying about Weinstein. So see, I was able to tie it back up, but that it's just a really odd, like you said, in hindsight, it feels so much more like pertinent to the time frame. At the time, you're just like, this is weird. Like, why is this in here? Yeah. But then, you kind of think of it with those 2026 lens and you're like, wow, that's really kind of on the nose.
And yeah, so that leads us to negatives, and I'm sure there's no shortage of those. So I don't know how far or deep you want to go in that. I'm going to say for me, I think my biggest negative with this, and I understand the reason why she had other stuff going on. Actually, my two negatives there are the biggest. One, I don't like that Sydney is relegated so much to like, I don't want to say she doesn't do a lot because she does do like typical third act Sydney Prescott things, but like the story really isn't Sydney's story in this, right. Aside from the occasional haunting. It really focuses more on the people at the movie set until it doesn't, like 2 hours into this 2-hour movie, which is the other thing that's a problem. Is this movie, like, again, captain of the I heard this movie should be about an hour and 30 minutes long fan club here. This movie has no fucking business being almost 2 hours long. And this isn't even just me like championing shorter movies. Like, there is so much wasted time in this movie just with, I actually watched this twice this week because I realized that there is a big chunk of them like detectiving that I just space out to when I watch this movie. I was like, shit, I wasn't really paying attention for a good chunk of that. I'm going to have to sit through this 2 hours again. And then I realized why. I'm like, it's because they're just fucking wandering around. Like, you could have had all this sleuthing, detectiving bullshit put into like one probably 60-second clip and taken out 25 minutes of the movie and we've been just fine.
I really don't have a problem with the runtime, surprisingly. Like, could they maximize their cutting ability and shorten the movie down? I'm sure that they could. But for me, I thought it was kind of, I don't know, it kind of goes to your point where Sydney's relegated to the sideline for so much of the movie until she comes in and does the things that Sydney does. I feel like with them kind of having her out of the picture for so long and they almost pad her parts with this ghost story that's in the movie. Yeah. It's almost kind of refreshing that they put the spotlight on other characters to do things that other characters do. Now, is the detectiving all that interesting? It really isn't. Like, does it really add much to the story? It really doesn't. But I didn't feel, I mean, I think, I totally see your side of it, but for me, it didn't take away from the movie for me. Like, could you cut stuff out? For sure. I mean, you almost always can. So, but I didn't find
if you watch this, if this was your second or third viewing of this, do you think you would say the same thing?
I don't know.
Okay. So how about you? Any other things you don't like or want to shit on with this movie?
I mean, I've been going through my negatives as we go. I think the big thing for me is, and I don't think we should give away the killer ending piece, because if you're like me and you haven't seen it and you're like, these guys are going to talk about Scream 3, you're probably listening to it because you want to hear what we have to say about that stuff. I think my big thing that I've had unsaid is the overuse of guns and vests. Like, it's, I don't know, it gets to be like, oh shit, they shot that guy. and then he just rolls away. It's convenient to use a phrase that I'm sure you didn't coin, but that you've used. It's like plot armor for it's just literal to be shit. Dewey has a gun and he used it and he shot this person multiple times and they fell on the ground and they rolled away.
I don't care if you got a bulletproof vest on or not. If you get shot like 13 times in the chest, you're staying down for a minute. So.
Yeah, you're gonna be hurting for at least a few minutes. Like even if we sped up movie time, you're gonna be incapacitated for. I've seen enough movies where people get shot that wear bulletproof vests in the chest, and they are down for a considerably longer amount of time than these people do.
Yeah. And I really don't want to just shit on this movie. Like I honestly think most of these things like are kind of right in the middle. Like I think most of these things really just, I don't know. I think we should just fire up the grill because otherwise I'm just going to repeat myself in like 2 minutes. So unless you got
for a
something
big
else
treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
So, I mean, this is like a definite half hot dog for me. And again, the big draw to this is going to be that it's a Scream movie. It's in the Scream franchise. So it has moments that are fun. It has Ghostface doing Ghostface things. It has Sidney doing Sidney things. And it has a whole bunch of other characters that you might or might not give a shit about. Most of the things that are in this, for me, I think it really is going to depend on what kind of movie you want to go into. If you want to go in and watch like a gnarly slasher movie with gore and a big body count and all that, and like a horror movie feel, this ain't the movie for you. Like you might want to come back to this one when you're feeling a little silly. If you're willing to watch a movie that kind of plays around in the slasher genre a little bit, but has fun with it and, is willing to just kind of say, fuck all these things that like would make sense. We're going to just have fun for about 2 fucking hours and you're coming along with us. I think that's where this movie does best is when you just stop taking it too seriously and just let it be the movie that it happens to be. So it's still like in the lower half, like of the 7 movies for me, it's in the lower half of that 7, but it's not without its charm. It has some really good stuff in it. Again, Carrie Fisher is a gem. Parker Posey's great. And there's some other people that are sprinkled through here that are genuinely great. And of course, Neve Campbell is great as Sidney as always. So is it the best Scream movie? Absolutely not. I don't think you'll ever hear anyone championing it that way, but it's still, I don't feel like you're going to be wasting your time putting this one on and going.
Whose hot dog is this? Huh? Is it yours?
All right, so I might surprise you or people. I liked it. I wasn't crazy about the dream scenarios. I wasn't crazy about the hallucinations. We kind of touched on it. I wasn't super crazy about this voice box or voice changer that can change and imitate anybody's voice like on the spot. But I thought the movie was really fun overall. Like I mentioned, I like that the franchise, at least so far, keeps that same like core ensemble cast between the movies. It keeps pushing it into new settings. That was the first thing I said that I really liked about it. And I mean that. I like that it doesn't just stay in this one town or in this one house or in this one like small area. We've gone from, what is it, Westboro? Is that what it's called? To the college. And now we're in a movie set. I don't know where the next one's going to be. Woodsboro. And I just like that it moves to new places. I'm not a huge fan of the predictable opening, but I totally understand that it's a trademark. It's a hallmark of the series. They're going to keep doing it, right? Because that's kind of what they're known for. I didn't bring this up, but man, I am not a fan of Creed. I don't like how Creed is in this movie. I don't like that when I was looking for stuff on YouTube, the Creed fucking music video comes up. I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? But
you already had the Master P song and then you go back to fucking Creed. What the hell?
Scream. But I give Scream 3 a full hot dog. I really liked it. I could see myself going back and checking this out. And I think that, I feel like this is a good series that I would be like, hey kids, you want to watch some horror movies? And it's not it's scary enough. I feel like the first 3 have been scary enough, but this one in particular feels a little bit more like Scream Light. Of the 3 that we've watched, this would not be, I don't know if I'd put 1 or 2 first, probably 1 first, just for the sentimental value of me seeing it enough times. But this would probably be the 3rd one out of all 3, but I've really liked all 3 of them so far.
Well, that's good to hear. Did you give it a hot dog or I don't
1,
remember?
a full 1.
You gave it a full hot dog?
Yeah.
Good for you. So
put some mustard on that.
Is there any other way? I mean, there is, but not right. Not correct.
Not the correct way.
So that's it for this week. We'll be back with more April and the 3 next week. In the meantime, if you would like to follow us, you can do that all over the fucking place. We are on all the social medias. We're at Dewey Pod Monster, with the exception of Blue Sky, where we are at crap.town. We have a Patreon now. If you'd like to join us and help support the show, you can go to patreon.com/DeweyPodMonster. There are several different options on what you can do as far as how to join up or how to help support the show. All those tiers are available now. We are members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can find all of our old episodes, all of our new episodes, and all the other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. I'm not sure when this episode comes out off the top of my head, but if it's before April 16th, we'll be showing the movie Fright Night over at Batch Brewing down in Corktown. That's our monthly Frankenstein's movie this month for April and the 3. It's not a 3, but we're doing it anyway. Deal with it. Come out, have a beer with us. All the fun stuff, hot dogs, vampires,
Giveaways.
What else do you need? And I don't know what I'm forgetting at this point. Sean, what am I forgetting?
I don't even know what I'm remembering. So I will say, if you liked anything that we talked about, if we liked anything we talked about on the show, any of the movies that we talked about up in the opening of the show, we're going to have links in the show notes to all those things. We're going to try and make it free if we can, because we love providing free content to you, our listener. Even though we have the Patreon at patreon.com/DeweyPodMonster, we're still offering those free links in the show notes. By show notes, I mean, you go on Spotify, you look at the list, you go to crap.town, you look at the post, you're like, cool. You go to YouTube, you're like, cool. There's links to all the things. Almost all those things are going to be free. Some of those things aren't free. If they say Amazon next to them, they're not free. And if you click those things and you buy those things and you do that thing, we get some of those things that help support this thing, and we can keep doing this thing. Other than that, if you want to check me out on social media, I'm on that thing. I'm on Blue Sky exclusively. I am at eternalbleeding.crap.town. I almost knocked my headphones off. And yeah, you can check me out there. You can check us out on all the places at Dewey Pod Monster, like John mentioned, except for Blue Sky. And we are at crap.town on Blue Sky. John, back to you.
Sounds flippity. That's all we got this week. See you next week, Butthorns. Cheers.
Bird season's over, Butthorn. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's it.
You're right.
We'll be back in a minute.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Of ads.
I don't think it'll be that long.
No.
That's a minute.